mean, the powers that we have as humans, let alone as like a group of people with a deep-rooted culture, sometimes we sell ourselves short or become mentally complacent. If we make that jump, we become unstoppable.
Welcome back with the Power Perception Podcast. This is Langi Hola. Today we're featuring two of my good friends, hashtag Team Delta.
Yes, sir.
Coming from the one and only Level Up, Tre Ofahengaue and Pulu Otukolo. Thank you for coming and joining me today. So for all of my guests, if you haven't listened before, the first thing I always do is ask, when's the first time you got playing the sport of football?
Go ahead, man.
Yeah, well, I guess I'll start. So my story with football is I got 19 concussions throughout high school, and so I've got a lot of times. I have like 20 stories, I think. But yeah, probably the one time that I don't remember, but kind of remember because there's videos of it, was from Chris Badger. Played for Timpview. He was a safety. He actually has one of me and my brother's favorite highlights to watch on YouTube. His highlight's like 4 minutes long of him just leveling dudes, and I'm at, I think, 2 minutes and 17 seconds. There's a highlight. The Seattle Seahawks wide receiver, John Ursua, who was a quarterback, he lobbed one up to me across the middle, and yep, I got knocked out, and I woke up. My parents never took me to the hospital. They never did because we didn't have insurance. Hashtag Team Delta back then too, when that was just a ready reserve, so they didn't have insurance. And so I ended up sleeping in the locker room. I woke up in my bed, so that was the one time that I don't remember getting got.
That's a super got.
That's
yeah.
R.I.P., man.
Yeah.
Mine is I'll never forget it. It's from another Team Delta, Etu Havili. Shout out Etu. So me and him, we had a little, growing up playing football at East, we had a little rivalry against each other. He was a year older, and every practice we'd get into it before practice. Our lockers were right next to each other, and he would tell me, "I'm gonna get you." I'll be like, "Yeah, whatever." We both started both ways, so you can't get me. But one week, we were playing Cyprus. That week, I had an appointment. I didn't tell the coach. I went to the appointment, came back. Next day, I'm on scout team. We called it at East Red Rocks or something like that. And I was playing wing. The responsibility is they head up or inside, you got them, down block. So no one was head up. Peeked inside. I saw Etu playing outside backer. I was like, all right, cool. Got this dude. Quarterback down, said hut. Right when he said hut, I took my first step. I saw blue, the mountain, and then I was like, what just happened? Boogers everywhere. And I'm like, wait, what just happened? And then he looked at me. I got up, sat up on my butt. He looked at me, he goes, I told you I was going to get you. And that I've never been hit so hard in my life. And I never had after that either. But that's my story of got. I still believe that he's the hardest hitter I've ever seen, felt, and watched.
Damn.
Yeah, that dude can lay the wood.
Y'all got R.I.P.
Yeah. I learned from that one though, man.
Yeah. For those of you who don't know Level Up, you guys do a lot of football camps, help promoting high school kids getting to the next level. So how did this all begin, man? Where did this all start? Where did the name Level Up come from?
Trey came up with the name Level Up.
Yeah, I think we were throwing around a lot of different names when we were trying to think of this idea, and I think Level Up just kind of went along with what we wanted to do for the kids, and kind of create that destination, if you say, where kids are never satisfied where they're at, always take it up a level. And I think that's why we came up with the name. We came up with Level Up Elite first, and then we added an S on the end so that we could get it on Twitter. So that's how we have level up elites. Because I know everybody's like, oh, elite is a plural word. Yeah, we know that. But elites, when we're the elite of the elites.
Yeah, going back on it, it was like, not being satisfied, not when you're good, try to be great, right? And then the few that's out there, once you surpass great, you become elite, and there's a few of those, but not very many. And so we always tell the kids, like, hey, it's time, whatever. And it goes to life, whether it's football or anything else, always take it up, level it up, and everything.
Sure.
All the way up.
All the way up, man. Yeah, with the gear and all. How'd this start, man?
Well, we were, I think the first time I met Pulu was at Delta, and Pulu's always been kind of helping kids with recruiting. Most of them were related to him. A lot of them were Tongans, and just different kids. He was kind of already helping kids with recruiting, and he kind of helped inspire me, along with my dad, to start helping kids out, help kids get recruited, and I think with how it started was we were kind of in the dips room, in the break room.
C13.
Yeah, in the C13. We were in there just kind of talking about ideas on ways that we can help kids get more offers. And during that time, my dad had landed the recruiting coordinator job at Brigham Young University. And so we kind of had that plug right there to where we could, we had a different perspective on kids because, one, Pulu was tied in with the Glendale community, and up north, a lot of the Tongans out there and a lot of the Polynesian kids out up north. And a lot of those kids were young when we started this. Apu Ika was just a sophomore coming up, and a lot of these colleges didn't know him. LSU didn't know him, that's for sure. By his freshman and sophomore year, they didn't know him, and but Pulu knew these guys, and I think that's kind of we were just kind of talking in the dips room, like, man, how can we help these kids get noticed, and not just the Utah schools, but on a bigger platform, on a different level, on a level that's above this, where they're getting Utah, BYU, Utah State, and we kind of went over different ideas in the dips room. We had a lot of downtime because Pulu has a lot of seniority. In fact, he was loading my stroller when I was just a baby.
Lies.
That's why when he was talking about his biggest hit, they didn't have helmets back then. I don't know if he forgot to tell you that. But
it was the leather one, right?
Yeah, Etu came in clean, so I probably would have died, honestly, if I played back then.
It's because of my generation why there's new rules.
Yeah, no, and that's
Just
no
helmet.
Yeah, we don't do that stuff anymore because of those guys. But I think that's where it kind of started. Was like we were just kind of going over ideas, and one of the big things was media. That was a huge thing. Twitter was just getting big, and more importantly, like filming, pushing out film. Like back in Pulu's day, they were sending VHSs.
No, that's facts.
I was just kidding, but okay.
Oh, that's facts.
Yeah. So, but we had DVDs. We had DVDs. I graduated in 2011, and we were still sending DVDs. Huddle was just new.
Senior year, that's when it came out.
Yeah. And I remember it was still kind of new. Like even when I created my Huddle account, I took it down because I was like, I'll just post it on YouTube or something. And I think during that time, Twitter was just kind of booming, and like we were seeing like kids getting offers from random states, that would have never happened, I think.
So it goes back. So he comes in. We're talking about what we could do to, help out these kids. Mainly for me, it was for our Polynesian youth. I didn't want them to have an excuse of why they didn't make it to the next level other than bad decisions. So I was like, I told Tre, I was like, dude, now that your dad because his dad is the one that gave me the inspiration to do that, because his dad was plugged in with everybody. But the thing is like, he was down here. He didn't see too much of the kids up there. And so I was like, dude, there's kids here that's better than those kids there. He goes, and then you start debating about that, And so his dad was the one that inspired me. And once he took that BYU job, I knew we could do it, because now you're tied in with BYU. You can no longer do what you do, right, because of NCAA rules. And so his dad, like, with the BYU job, and that whole coaching staff just put us up on game, and solidify a lot of the kids we thought were dudes and were gonna be dudes. They solidified that and made us a little bit more credible as.
Yeah, and just to like second what Pulu was saying, like I think the timing was perfect because, a lot of college recruiters, you'll see this trend where, there's so many, we're kind of labeled as what you call street agents, people that are not, they're either getting paid under the table or they're not getting paid, which we weren't getting paid, but nobody knows that. And, in fact, I remember times we were pushing out Zach Wilson, quarterback for BYU. We're pushing his name out, and the first question every recruiting coordinator would ask me is, how much is the dad paying you? That's the first question. Every single time I'd be like, you guys got to check this quarterback out. He's legit, blah, blah, blah. And, some street agents, they do kind of dirty. They make a lot of money off of these kids and guarantee them scholarships. We never did that because we could never guarantee anybody scholarships.
Yeah, and we tell kids, like, we don't guarantee you scholarship.
Yeah.
Because first, we're not in a position to give you a scholarship. And second, that's just not how it is. If they're real good recruiter or a good team, your play gives you that, what your actions and all that. So, yeah, that was weird, because I was like, so you guys, that just told us that they didn't really know who Zach Wilson was. Yeah. And then sure enough, by the time signing day came.
Right. When it gives you kind of that perspective of like what college coaches think of people like us. Yeah. And that's why with my dad getting that job, and having that tie, we had Reno Mahe, it was at BYU, Kalani, obviously, it was there, and all of those Polynesian ties, it kind of gave us a little bit more credibility, because we were getting kids like Brandon Kaho, Puka Nakua, Siaki Ika, these different top kids that are now panned out and doing really well at the next level. Kind of gave us that credibility of like, hey, if we're sending you guys a name, there's some weight behind it, and I think that's why that timing was perfect with my dad getting that job, because he's probably offered every single kid we sent him, every single kid, and he never second guessed it, and he knew, because my dad had been doing this, him and Reno, they've been doing what we're doing years before. They started up Gifted Camp. I don't know if
I was part of those.
And that was free, and my dad, he was a huge example to me on, how to help kids get recruited, doing it the right way, going about it the right way.
But with that also was, once, we're tied in with BYU, right? And so you start pushing them to like Utah State and other schools, and they'll be like, so you work with T.O. and them? Goes, T.O., that's Tre's dad. Goes, nah. And he goes, oh, he doesn't run level up. He goes, oh, man, nah, man, he doesn't run level up. He goes, oh, this whole time I thought that was him, but it was you guys. I was like you guys were the face, but it was really him behind the background. I was like, nah, it's not like that. But, it took a year or so, and colleges were like, oh, okay, it's not really him. Because we can spot better talent than he can.
You got to edit that out.
For sure. Man, it's crazy because you guys talk about, like, the things that really, like, inspired you guys to do these things. And my story is kind of the same. I remember my little brother's senior year, I think going into the playoffs, he was leading the state. I think he was only behind Jordan Lolohea at the time. Mm-hmm. But in every other statistical category, Jordan was leading the state in sacks. But my little brother was second in sacks, first in tackles for loss, and like every other category, he was leading. And come to the end of the year, he was second team All-State and honorable mention. And they played all the best teams that year. And then, he didn't want to admit it, but I could tell, like, it hurt him big time. And I was talking with someone, and it was a guy who was working up at KSL at the time, and he told me how they do their all-state selection process. And I was like, so wait, you're telling me the best players aren't just being picked? Like, it's not a consensus. and it's not that way.
No.
And so the reason why I actually started this was because I was like, there are like 20, 30 other kids out there who that happened to my little brother, that happened to them too.
Right.
And it's not fair that you put all your hard work and effort into, you know, the off season and all this and that for someone to come and tell you it's like, because we know this kid, we're gonna put him ahead of you, even though you are better than him.
So you know.
Yeah. And it's who you know. And I was like, man, that's not what I want to go through.
Yeah.
But I kind of want to go into like the building stages, man. I can recall a lot of times when people were just like, oh, level up isn't really this or level up isn't really that.
Yeah.
Man, how was kind of like just putting the blinders on and shutting out the haters, as you could say.
It, like, because our goals, right? Because what we wanted to do and our passion of doing it, that was it, man. And, you know, what we set up at East, man, you know, we embraced the hate. And we loved that stuff when we were starting. You know, we'd be up late at night on the phone, you know, hours at a time. And I know our wives were, they're like,
Still.
yeah. They're like, what are these two? Didn't they just talk like 3 hours ago? But that's how it was, you know, and we just kept going, and we really believed, and we do believe that we help kids, you know, and that was it.
Yeah.
That's when we focused on what our goal was, and we just went with it.
And I think just the second what Pulu was saying is like just keeping in focus what the end goal was. You know, I think that was what helped us, because there was a lot of times where, you know, my wife would be on like, why are you helping these kids? Like, you know, they're not you're not gaining anything from it. And, you know, one thing is when we started this, we were doing this for free, a full year. We were helping kids out. In fact, I had my dad's first year at BYU. I housed 13 kids in a single. We had a 1-bedroom apartment near BYU, and you know, my dad had asked, you know, these were all Polynesian kids, and he just said, you know, these kids don't have any money, like they're struggling, they can't get in the dorms, they were from out of state. We had some of Pulu's nephews
for the football camp.
And it was for the BYU football camp. So I housed, me and my wife were married for about 6 months, and we had 13 boys, high school boys, staying they all slept in the living room. It was kind of a funny like story, but there was 13 of them. They looked like sardines laying side by side, just, you know, and they would come in, sleep, and go straight to practice, and they would be gone the whole day. But during that whole time, I was taking them, you know, and like I said, my dad was a huge mentor to me. He showed me how to host them, and thank goodness I served the mission, so I wasn't like super awkward at the time with you know, getting them pushed out. But, you know, he taught me a lot of things, like, you know, things that you would never think of, you know, that my dad did for me growing up. And it's funny, like, seeing me do it, and I'm like, man, my dad did this for me, you know, all growing up, and doing it for these kids. You know, for example, I would take them to go eat, all 13 of them. I'd have like $20, and I'd buy them 4 boxes of pizza or whatever it was I could get, and just feed the 13 kids. And, you know, I was just trying to make it work with what we had. And, you know, but the main reason why I did that was just to help them. You know, because I know they came from nothing. You know, and as much as I want to say I don't have anything, these kids, a lot of them were a lot worse in worse situations than I was. And in fact, one more story. There was one kid, top recruit. He's committed. I don't know if I can tell you this story, but he was kind of a big reason why I never lose focus on my level up stuff. I was taking him home, and I was with my son. It was me, him, and my son, and we were talking. I can't remember what the conversation was, but I had this weird feeling, just, you know, like there was this connection between us where it was just, you know, like this was more than football. I was helping this kid out, you know, with deeper stuff. And I remember dropping him off, and as I was driving home, I was looking back at my son, and his father passed away. The kid's father passed away a few years back. And as I was driving, I had this feeling that, you know, I could picture my son grown up in high school, and being a top recruit that had no offers, being a top kid, and me not there. I mean, I know for sure if I'm alive when my son's in high school, hopefully I am, I'm gonna do everything I can to get him an offer. And if I'm not here, I pray that one of these kids will do the same what I did for them. In return, I hope that somebody will take care of my son and take him to the camps, get him in front of the coaches, do whatever you can. And in fact, there's been times where I risked a lot of the awkwardness of getting this kid in front of kids. There was a Jim Mora, what was his name? Mora, UCLA's old coach.
Jim Mora, yeah.
Jim Mora?
The old Atlanta.
Yeah.
Falcons.
Oh, the awkwardest conversation. But, that was my motivation. We went to UCLA, and we weren't supposed to be there. And I had the kid with me, and I'm like, I got to push this kid out because I know if his dad was here, he would have done it. And that's kind of that whole what keeps me. A lot of people can talk what they want about Level Up, but they don't know that. Then I know Pulu has the same, because money's never been the motivation. The only reason why we had to start charging was with helping kids get recruited. There's a lot of funds with it, and that was the only reason.
And I think a lot of the, you say like the haters and the rumors or whatever was, and with not just Level Up, but people in that industry is money, right? Like out there, quick money grab or whatever. Mm-hmm. But for us, every time after every camp, our wives will look at us and we'll just be like, you got nothing to show for it. It's like, just keep walking. Like, if we were really about the money and, when the wife look at us, goes, yeah, we got that. We got the bag, But it's, at the end of the day, it goes back to why one of the motivations or the reason why I started this was I didn't want an excuse, right? I didn't want an excuse for these kids of why they didn't make it to the next level. And I don't want money to be an excuse of why these kids can't come to our showcase. That's why, like, every time we do a showcase, I'd be like, okay, here's my list. And my list is like, you know what I mean? Because, I'm from Glendale, you know what I mean? Like,
everybody's
those guys.
Family out there.
Yeah, everybody's family, they're on some kind of federal government assistance or whatever, or, just both parents working and whatnot. And so, this is my opportunity to give back, because growing up, I wasn't so much of a good an example to the younger generation coming up, because of the people I looked up to. And so I just wanted a different way. And it's hard, you know what I mean? It's hard because you're putting in a lot of time, but it's not being paid money-wise. But it's coming in other ways.
For sure.
You know what I mean? We still get dudes that, say hello or talk to us or text us or, see our kids, like see my son and goes, hey, how's he doing? And that feels just as good. It may not pay the bills, but, I got a job for that. But yeah, we love it. We enjoy it.
I think the principle with that is more like you guys are paying more dividends on the macro instead of the micro. Where the micro is like, you could get paid here and now, but like if you force that kid to pay $250 when he shows up to your door, it's like, we're just going to go look for a cheaper camp next year because we don't really have the funds to do this. Yeah. But if you look out for them, it's kind of like, man, like these guys took care of me. So like they don't have an obligation to you, but as Polynesian people, we take care of our own. That's something that I think all of us take very seriously. So let's dive in. Who were, you talked about, the BYU staff that helped, mentor you, your dad, Tre, and Reno Mahe, and all these other guys. Who are some of your guys' other mentors that might have like put you on game?
Every coaching staff that we have in contact with, right? One of the biggest ones lately that we spend hours on the phone and I just pick his brain is Jake Lange, from the University of Texas. He's right now, that's his position out there in Texas, is dealing with the recruiting game. And I just, I catch him when he's driving back, I think, from Euless to Austin, so that's a couple-hour drive, right? Mm-hmm. And so I catch him there, and it's, he's always apologizing, man, sorry to talk your ear off. I go, bro,
It's golden, though.
Yeah, people pay money for that type of stuff, you know what I mean? But us Polynesian people, we're a little different. So I just pick his brains, of all sorts of stuff. And other coaching staff, you send them film and you send them kids, refer kids, and they'll, because of the relationship that we've grown over the years, they're more transparent and more real, right? Keep it 100 with you, and they'll tell you everything about the kid. And then we're transparent with all the athletes we deal with, and we just relay the message, and then they're like, oh, okay. So he said he was too small. He's 6'2". Wow.
Yeah.
Like, okay. I mean, any taller, he's going to a bigger school. But, okay, yeah, you know what I mean? And stuff, just things like that, from everybody that we talk to.
Yeah.
As far as for me.
Yeah, and I think, a lot of the motivation comes from, like I said, my dad. My dad was a huge motivation for me. I think a lot of the kids were big motivation for both of us. We do 7-on-7 tours, and we always have a FHE, like a family evening, where we kind of get to know the kids a little bit more and their
we
stories.
House them all together.
We house them, yeah. So we'll get an Airbnb and stuff, and that whole experience is like every time we do it, it's just life changing because a lot of these kids, everybody goes through something. Every single kid, whether they're a 5-star, whether they're no star, and for me, I think that's motivation. Finding out kids' stories and being able to help them out in any way that I can. I listen to a lot of podcasts too. There was a podcast called The Startup. Can't remember who it's by, but it was a podcast about starting up businesses and starting up podcast businesses. Really good podcast. I don't know if Pulu remembers. I remember I used to talk about it all the time, but when we started this, that was a podcast that I was listening to like every day. It was a really good, just kind of, a lot of stuff he talked about was just starting. That's the key. The key to anything is just starting. Eventually you're going to grow, and he proved to be right, because from where we started to this year, I mean, our camps have changed 180. I mean, where we have a Huddle account now. We're able to promote more kids on a bigger scale. We're able to, have a platform that not to knock all these media outlets or recruiting sites or whatever you want to call them, but I think we do a pretty good job at pushing out kids just with our brand, just with Level Up Elites. Like when we started, we needed to have such and such there. We needed to have so and so there, and this is what's going to make the showcase big. But I think eventually, if we had started now, we'd probably be way behind the game. And if we dragged our feet, which we dragged our feet for 1 year, but then after listening to that podcast, I was like, yeah, you know what? Let's come up with a name and let's try to get a Twitter account. That's after that, the rest is history.
Yeah, man. Like you said, there was a lot of mentors, and one of the ones that really got me was listen to a few of his things, and what he had to say was Brandon Maddich up at East, right? So when he first offered me a job to come up there and coach at East, he told me, you played at East, played a little bit of JC football and this, that. I go, yeah. So I'm, trying to tell him my resume as far as playing the sport, right? And he goes, just okay, cool, then whatever. And it came right back to it. He goes, at the end of the day, I don't really care. People on my staff, I have people on my staff that knows X's and O's. I want somebody on my staff that can relate and coach these kids in life, because the X's and O's, I can teach them that. You know what I mean? And that kind of stuck in me. I was just like, nah, you know what? You're right. And ultimately, that's what the college and university coaches do, right? Because you have to buy in to the head coach, the DC, or the OC's philosophy of coaching. Mm-hmm. And so I was just like, okay. And so that's what that's what I took into doing the Level Up, and how when we do go out of state to camps and 7-on-7 tournaments, we try to teach these kids. Because in the very beginning, when we used to go out and do those things, that's when Bing East was, from the bottom of the mountain trying to chirp up to Bingham like, hey, we want that smoke. You know what I mean? So there was a lot of hate and animosity going on within the players, the community, the parents, and all that. And so it was kind of hard for us because, we want to take Lolani, you know what I mean, Beppa, but we had Apu and this is that, and we had to tell these kids, like, hey, there's more to life than just football. When football's done, which it will be, you know what I mean, what's going to happen? You're still going to hate the kid because he played at Bingham? I go over here. You know, we try to make these guys' relationships stronger because at the end of the day, they might play on the same team on the next level. They might be business partners. They might be coworkers, you know. And so we wanted them to do all that. It was hard in the beginning, but now, you know, they'll still stay there. Oh, man, forget East, forget Bingham. But that's my boy, you know, before it would come out.
Yeah, I think that's Pulu. You shared it a couple of times with me. Like, that's one of our favorite things after games, like high school games.
High school games.
Is when they're our kids from the 7-on-7 and from the showcases are, you know, shaking hands with each other and
talking getting along, you know. Like, one of the first ones, it was when East first played Bingham, at Bingham. You know, East they just had one of the best seasons ever the year before. Week 2, they played Bingham at Bingham. I'm, you know, in my East gear, and Bingham just gives them that work, you know. But after the game, you know, all the East kids, they're like, you know, when you lose, you don't want to talk to nobody, you know what I mean? And Bingham kids, they're high off their win and all that. And the Bingham kids, you know, I'm walking on the field, and all of them come up to me like, hey, coach, what's up, man? And I'm like, you know, that's why we do what we do. You know, and then you look over to the side, you know, the East kids that were crying and this is that, they're talking with the Bingham kids, you know what I mean? Like, on all that, you know, I don't think that would have happened prior to us trying to bring them together and taking them out and showing them off, whatnot.
Man, that's crazy because I remember when I was in high school, I trained with Paula and Stu after my senior year was over, and I remember how much that helped me, like my footwork. And I was telling my little brother, hey, you should go train with these guys. Mind you, Paula and Stu were at Jordan, so they were rivals with Alta.
Right.
Yeah.
And when Coach Kerr would see me come and train with him, he's like, hey, what the hell is that Alta kid doing over here training at Jordan? And Stu and Paula were just telling them, it's like, hey, like, these are our people, and we're never going to turn them away. And so fast forward to when my little brother gets trained by these guys. They end up playing. You know, my senior year is already done, so I never even got to play again. But my little brother ended up being the reason why they beat Taylorsville. So, who was it, Dane? Was it Dane? So everyone was talking about Dane. He was having like 400-yard games, like back to back to back. They play Alta, and Mata was telling me, he's like, oh, like, Dane's good, but he's still young. And, like, I can use my leverage and my length to, like, limit him on the field. I was like, yeah, I'm not watching this highlight. Better not get juked this game. And he was like, nah, I'm locking it down. Trust me. Dane finishes the game with, like, 56 rushing yards, and then I think Mata had 3 sacks and a forced fumble that game.
Oh, wow.
And then we go to the end of the game. We're all on the field. And Paula and Junior come up to my little brother and my mom, and they're all talking. And Junior, like, punches Paula in the arm. It's like, this is your fault. It's like, why? It's like, we trained this kid to beat us, knowing we were going to play him during the season. And then Paula had told me, he was like, you know, it's like, but there's never a better feeling than knowing you helped the kid to reach his potential.
Yeah.
And that supersedes winning, losing, or anything.
Yeah.
Because knowing a kid can reach this level of potential is like, it's like, I'll take that any day of the week. Because the best feeling was the same thing as you guys. Like, he has so many kids after games that would come up to him and say, hey, coach, thank you so much, man. Yeah. They'll dap him up and say hi, this, that.
It's cool, you know, like, I was still on the East staff, you know, for a very long time, even when we were starting this up, and, you know, we'll line up and play those kids, and after the game, you know, win or lose, you know, our coaching staff, you know, shake hands and then go. Whereas me, I'm like, I can't go right away because I'm still talking to the opponent, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, and then these coaches, you know, I don't know how they felt about it, but I think later on they'll be like, you know what, I think we got something here. So they'll ask me, like, hey, next week we playing that. Who's the dudes on there? And I'm like, okay, here's the, you know what I mean? And what should we do or whatnot? And I'm like, oh, I don't know, but that's the dude, you know. It is a beautiful feeling, like Paula saying, man. It makes you feel good.
Okay. So I gave you a bunch of questions that you guys are comfortable with answering. So
I know where it's going, man.
It's
We
like,
want all the smoke.
so it wouldn't be real reporting if I wasn't able to answer or ask the hard questions. So a few years back, you guys kind of got into a little Twitter war with Alpali and Alemateo. I wanted to just give you guys the floor. We're promoting these kids to dap up and clean it up, and it's like I wanted to give you guys the opportunity to kind of speak on that. And
Yeah.
what was the deal with all of that?
How that happened was it was all I know, it was in the winter, November, December, because it was cold. We get on Twitter, because that's where everything goes down, right?
Mm-hmm.
As far as recruiting, it's easy. It's a great platform for these kids, which we encourage every kid that comes to our showcase to start one if they don't have one. Let's go on Twitter, but you got to be smart about it as well. And so, just like any other showcase and all that, you profile pictures and all that. And then our guy Blair, he works for 24 Sports.
24/7.
Yeah, 247 Sports. And he put up a picture of MJ Tafisi. And like most reporters and recruiting or anybody that does sports, they're gonna do the latest photo of the kid,
Mm-hmm.
right? So he's not gonna put an 8th grade picture of the kid has an Alta shirt on at the time or whatnot. But it just so happened his latest picture was of a Level Up shirt. Was it the blue one or because it was the first one? It was the red one.
Yeah.
So it was the red one, and he puts that up. I think he was gonna commit soon or something. With an article on MJ, and Alema goes on there and he says, you couldn't find him a better looking shirt than that one that he's wearing. And so, first thing for me, I was like, what? What's up? You know what I mean? Like, I'm living in Woods Cross, and I'm like, going back to Glendale, like, what's up?
He said Hood's Cross.
Are we banging now or something? You know what I mean? Like,
I must have forgot.
and I was just like, whoa.
Yeah,
And
I called Pulu and he was heated.
He was
heated.
I was mad. But the crazy thing is, Alema lives down the street from me. So I was like, I'm going to go ride on this dude, right? And then I was like, wait. Yeah, it don't work like that. You know what I mean? The real world don't work like that. You know what I mean? You go over there, he can shoot you, or you could go to jail. You know what I mean? So I was heated, but it was the comment after that, which was made by MJ's teammate, Afu.
Oh,
Gava's boy.
Yeah.
He goes, don't worry, coach. Don't worry, coach. I didn't get one of those too. And so I was like, really? And no, I'm like, okay, I'm super, super mad. So I hit up the Pops. I DM, I DM through. He didn't really get back to me as fast like I wanted him to. So I called the Pops, but Pops didn't answer. So I'm just like, man, by the time me and this dude's talking, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to call Alema right now. I'm going to call Alema and see what's up. So I'm calling around. Who has his number? Nobody knows has his number. So I was like, you know what? Maddich has it. Hit up Maddich. Goes, here's the number. This is how much of a rider Maddich is. He was like, let me know what's up. I was like, hey, bro, let's just keep it. You know what I mean? Because like I said, man, we lived up there with that mentality. Like we want all the smoke. We embrace the hate. You know what I mean? It fuels us. And so he was like, let's just added that on top. You know what I mean? So I was heated. And this guy hits me up. We're going at it, and he takes it to another level. Like, what did you?
No, I said some stuff that shouldn't have said, but
I did get his number, and I called him. I was like, and I told him, hey, what's up, man? This is Pulu, co-founder, owner of Level Up Elite. What's good? What's your problem? He goes, didn't have to, well, I don't even remember because I was so mad. And I was just like heated. And then my wife was like, hey, calm down. You know what I mean? Like, you need to calm down. And so we start talking. I go, hey, man, I don't know what's up with you and what your issue is, but this is what we do. Like, in reality, we're different from what you do. Like, we should be working together in reality. You know what I mean? Because what we do is a lot different than what he does. And at the end of after all said and done, me and him looked back and I was like, whoa, hey, we must be legit because we had one of the top dogs, the OG of what this game is, recognize us. You know what I mean? Because in real talk, if somebody was to hit us, like, look down, be like,
Who is that?
Next. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? And so for him to do that, we were mad, but at the same time, we're like,
that's some publicity.
Yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? Like, that's OG. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's what I know. I think when I first got the tweet, I called Pulu right away, and I was like, hey, did you check the Twitter? And but at first I was like, man, it was kind of an honor for us to get, like Pulu was saying, like, to be recognized by someone. All Pauly's been around for 20 years. That's more than half my life. I'm 28, so that's been longer than that was probably around the time Pulu started at Delta. But they've been around for a long time.
Guys, I don't have that much seniority. I wish.
No, but they've been helping kids. I mean, all Pauly is like I never got to go growing up, but I know it blessed a lot of kids' lives. A lot of kids got a lot of offers from all Pauly. It is a great platform still. To this day, it's still getting kids offers, and and I think the only reason why I was got upset was we worked hard and we never got paid, and especially during this time that was our first camp. We just had started, and we worked really hard for that first camp. I think we this is a little disclosure, but I think we let in like maybe 70% of that camp. All the East kids got in free. I know that for sure. And he brought all of Glendale. So like, it was a packed camp, but we had 6 filmers filming everywhere. I cut up we didn't have huddle at the time.
Not only did they get in free, that's our first camp, right? So we wanted to make it legit. So we gave away free gloves, Under Armour, mouthpieces, everything. And those free kids, they got it too. You know what I mean?
I mean, and it was
so
stressful.
We didn't get paid. So when we say we didn't get paid, like
we lost.
We went under. You know what I mean?
No, we lost a lot of money after that camp. We lost a ton of money, which was fine at the time until, when you brought up your brother about not being recognized, like that stuff. It hurts. When you're putting in so much work, like you said, like your brother worked all off season, you do all that stuff, and then no one recognizes you. And I think that's what kind of got under my skin was just like, man, this dude has no idea. Like, I was saying, like, we didn't have huddle. So I still remember there was 3,878 one-on-one clips. I cut up every single clip.
Ooh,
you can ask my wife, every single clip I cut up, and I spent hours. I mean, this was months. I ended up posting all the film from that camp. No one knows about it, but it's all on our huddle account. Because I just got burnt out, and I was like, I wasn't, we weren't making any money, but the nice thing is Delta has a lot of downtime, so I did all the videos during the downtime, but still, it's a lot of work. And then, when that came in, it was just like, man, like, I shouldn't have said the things that I said, and apologize for me. We moved on, but at the time, I think that's what kind of got under my skin was like, man, I'm already working to help these kids out, and you kind of saying those discrediting that kind of.
Right, and like it goes back to when we were saying the timing, right? The timing of when we started this. Remember, all Pauly made their living, but of college and university coaches coming, right? They're coming there. So the first year we started this, and we knew because the rules, right? Because of our inside scoop, so to say, from BYU was no more satellite camps. So how are we going to do what they do or what this goes on and still have an effect on these kids recruiting? So that's, another reason why we started those things. And so for him to come out and say that, and You know, honestly, I don't know if he even meant it that way. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, that's
because you know, I don't even think he meant it that way, but that's how we took it. You know, because I'm looking back at it as a head coach, I would want him in an Alta shirt or an East shirt. But it goes back to Blair. He's like, he's gonna put up the latest picture. You know, which was that. But we took it as a
slight.
Yeah. Because it's good. It's publicity. You know, that's the thing. Like, MJ was being recognized for something, but now you're taking away from that spotlight. Like, it doesn't, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what he's wearing, because the main thing is he's getting in. 24/7 is the biggest platform for recruiting. You know, that's just straight up, you know, and for them to post a picture of him, you know, you got over like 600 retweets just in, you know, the first, because I think he got an offer was why they put that article. And so all of that fan base kind of retweets it and gives him more credibility. So now, you know, now he's on the board of Washington or a different university. And, you know, so that's why that was kind of, when I look back at that, that's probably the saddest part of that whole experience is, like, you know, a lot of people we don't remember what that post was about. We only remember the negative things, which is sad, because we should remember that, hey, that was when MJ got offered from whoever he got offered from, but kind of take away from that with that argument. Or
I think if there's anything like we can take away because I feel like, you know, in the Polynesian community, we always say, like, oh, we take care of our own. And then as you get older, you know, that sentiment kind of like goes away only if you recognize that person to be on your same level in a sense. And so, like, for me, I think the biggest thing is, like, we need to learn to be more compassionate. Like, let's say another camp or another organization that's similar to you guys is coming up. I think the biggest thing we can do is, if you eat, we all eat, right? And I think that's something, like, we all need to carry. Yeah. And not to say, like, you guys aren't doing that, but I think we can, like, take notice, like, be more mindful.
Yeah.
You know, if there's stuff out there that anyone's trying to aspire to become, it's like, why not help?
Yeah.
Because it only adds to everything.
Well,
else.
and I think that's like that whole mentality of, like, you know, I mean, we teach these kids to outwork everyone, to compete, and, you know, and not to just, you know, fold and let the guys walk all over us. And, you know, it'd be hypocritical of us to not want more competition. I actually look forward when new camps come out. I always tell Pulu, like, you see this new camp, and, you know, you see what these guys are doing, and it makes us, like, we're not content. We're never content. Every
just
year,
trying, you know,
we
level
better.
up, right?
Yeah.
Get better.
Getting better. Exactly.
I mean, and even as a business, like, even as a showcase, like, we've finally created a semi-organization amongst ourselves. You know, it was just me and Pulu, but now we have, you know, kind of people under us now, and we're, you know, because we realize that, like, that's how this game is going. You know, and the film is great, all of that stuff is great, but what more can you do? And being able to jump ahead of, like you said, because there's going to be more showcases, there's going to be more camps, there's going to be more people selling stuff, and being able to take our game up a level too, I think is important.
So I'm gonna do a few kind of like rapid questions, fire, and then we'll end up closing pretty soon here.
Sweet.
So my first question to you guys is, who's the best athlete you've ever matched up, either against or played with on the same field?
For me, is when I played JUCO ball out in California. You guys probably heard of him. His name was Iona Key. You know, I think he was a bounce back from Boise State, and he came to play at Mount Sac, and we played him week 2. And I was like, wow. Like, he scored everything possibility way that you can. Kickoff return, block punt return. Like, that's what it felt like. You know, hurdling guys, you know what I mean? And so I'm like, whoa. You know, and they had athletes there. They had a quarterback. He ended up going to UCLA. But, yeah, that's the greatest athlete I ever played against.
Yeah.
What about you?
Mine would be my friend John Ursula. We were teammates. So he was a quarterback, though, but every now and then we'd go one-on-one. We actually did a lot of one-on-ones. I played corner, so he was a slot. He played for the Seattle Seahawks. But yeah, he's probably the most athletic guy. I was definitely faster than him and stronger and better looking. But besides that stuff, he was definitely more athletic. He was just smooth. I mean, he still is. Obviously, he's in the league, but yeah, he was probably the best guy, and he was good at everything. Basketball, he's legit at basketball. Football, and like I said, he was hard to cover. He could never cover me, though. If we were to challenge, like, who was better at covering and playing receiver, I'd probably win because he wouldn't be able to cover me, and I'd cover him at least one time. So, might be myself. I might be the best athlete.
Not off that last camp coming up them hills.
Oh, yeah. No, not right now. Yeah, my knees is like Pulu's right now.
Pre-surgery.
Yeah. No, his pre-surgery knees.
What knees?
Man, I want to put out a name. Whenever I think when I was younger, the best athlete I'd ever seen was probably Ross Apple.
Oh, yeah.
Man, I remember we went, I think it was at the BYU Junior Day. So when Ross and them would come down for camps, he would come down with my cousin Theo Kautai and them. And they would stay at my house all the time. They came down for the Junior Day, and I remember seeing Ross. I think he ran a lasso. He ran a lasso route, and while he was breaking out, the DB grabbed both arms. Ross, with one hand, with like 3 fingers, caught the ball like this. Just plucked it out of the sky, and then the kid still holding him, and then Ross just like elbowed him in the face, and the kid fell on the floor.
Oh,
And the kid's like, "Hey man, run it back." Same exact thing. Ross runs a post. He holds him again with one arm. Boom, just tucks the post right in. I was just like, yeah, God made a lot of us different from each other.
Ross was a dude.
Hey, that's a special breed too. You got to half black, half Tongan. I mean, you got Jabaris like that. You know, that's a good breed.
Okay, so this is gonna be a debate here. Best Utah high school football team ever.
Me and this dude,
Wesley.
so that's one of the best things that
Wesley.
this guy straight disrespected this podcast by saying that. No, but
hey, you're in Saratoga now, so you gotta agree.
So me and
your daughter's gonna.
That's
go
what me
here,
and this
you know
guy, within what we do, like me and this guy will battle on trying to get kids right. Like this kid is this, and so we love that debate. When he said debate, yeah. So mine is a toss-up between the 96 East High team and the 2015 or 16 East team.
I think it's 15.
Yeah. 15. The one that played 2 out-of-state teams. National.
Oh.
Well-known.
See, the 96, I was 4, so I don't even think we had a TV back then. Did we have TVs back then or no?
But, there were some guys that came out of the, that went to the league out of that. I think they had set the record for the most shutouts as a defense. And then, of course, the 2015 or 16, they played 2 out-of-state teams, well-recognized top 25, Pulaski Academy, got them. De La Salle, y'all know De La Salle,
That was a good team. That was a really good
team. That's who I think.
I'm not an East fan. I actually really don't like East a lot. They knocked us out of our chance to win the state championship my senior year. So ever since then, I've never liked East. In fact, in that game, I wore regulators on my back pad just to send a message that I didn't like them. And I was throwing up West Valley, and I've never been to West Valley at that time. My dad never let us go.
Past the mountain.
Yeah. As soon as we go to Rose Park, my dad would be like, "Everybody lay down." Like, really?
Wow.
He's like, "Yeah, this is similar to Iraq." That's what they call it. But, the only thing I knew was back then, regulators was big. I had a cousin that was always like, regulators. It's your cousin too, Richie Bakapuna. He's the only regulator I know. I was like, dude, don't you live in Lehigh? And he's like, regulator. I was like, oh shoot, regulator. So I threw regulators on my back pad, and Ofahengaue was on that team. And I remember the first time I seen him, I was throwing up West Valley, and then I seen him look at me. I had to turn around. And our cheer was actually regulators. We cheered regulators, but yeah. Anyways,
trying to play that.
I did not like East, and so every time he brings up East, I'm like, they're not the best team. But that team was really good. They were a great team. They have some good credibility because they beat out-of-state teams. But I think the best team I've seen was the 2010 Trinity team. I hate Trinity too. But no, the team that beat the team that I thought was really good was that Bingham team, and Trinity smashed them. And ever since then, we were always like, I always thought that I thought all those Texas teams were on a different level. I still think they are. It's frustrating losing to them.
I didn't buy into that hype. Texas, this is that. Maybe because we played Allen the wrong year. No, I don't care what year it was, but we went out there. Yeah, that is on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I remember talking to my cousin because I was like, man, that Bingham team that lost to Trinity, I was like, you guys were stacked. Like, you guys were killing everybody in Utah.
The year they lost to Trinity, because they won state the junior year, right?
Yeah.
Harvey and them's junior year. And then 2010, they ended up going undefeated.
Yeah.
The junior year team was better than the senior year team.
Right.
Playing against those guys. Because remember, they had – so their O-line at the time from the right tackle was Brandon Dalkeaho.
Yeah.
He's like 6'4", like almost 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Then the best offensive lineman in the state at the time was Tuni Kanuch. And then the left guard, you had – who was it? Lecky Tamoipea was playing. Then you had Jalen Uluave was playing center. And so you had like 6 guys or 5 guys on that line who were all
I swear that team was like, there was a ton of guys that went D1, like Noah Pikula. You had
their whole defense
Harvey.
went D1,
yeah,
except like one person,
right? And then them to get beat, I was like, man, that is crazy that they lost. And I remember talking to, I think it was Tooney. I was talking to somebody, and he was telling me that one thing that they weren't ready for was getting cut blocked downfield.
Yeah,
and he was like, that was a big thing. Was like, we were getting cut, like we were just running, and somebody was cutting our legs out, and he was like, that's way different. You get flagged for that here in Utah. And I was like, but still not an excuse to get beat that bad, and especially being how bad they were beating TV. And how bad they were beating everyone here, that's what was frustrating. It was like, man, they're like smashing everybody here.
Yeah, I remember it was like 35-7. It was third quarter already. I was like, I'm not gonna lie though, I was at home. I was like, my hometown represented today.
Yeah, I was like, nah, that ain't from Utah. They from
I know Westlake will beat them. I'm telling you right now. That year, my junior year, if we had Maka Unufe, if he would have transferred, we would have beat him. Probably would be everybody, even East.
Let's go. So who's your team?
That 2010 team. I know. I listened to your podcast, and the whole time in the car, I was like, "This dude, I hate Texas football." I was listening to all you guys talk about Texas football.
So you said 2010 Bingham team?
Yeah. This is my only reason why they had 3 receivers who went all state and went D1, aside from their running game, and so there were games that year that no one knows about that. So Bingham went down 21-0 against West Jordan because their players weren't focused before the game. And Stephen Cantwell, they went spread, and they just spread out. Boom, boom, boom. It was like 42-21 in one quarter. Dang. They dropped like 40 points like that right off the bat.
Yeah, see,
my
greatest team that I said never went down. Only to the number 1 team in the nation was De La Salle.
They're back then.
Hold on. And the D1 guys your guys talking about? So, me and Trey, we kind of, this, right? So when you talk to coaches and be like, oh, he D1? He goes, yeah. So what? Where D1? G5? P5? Yeah. Mount West? Lower Mount West? Lower P5? And so that's, goes to my argument of your guys' to 2010. D1? Mountain West.
But if you have 20 D1s... You have 20 D1s versus.
And remember that BYU team was good. Hey, that BYU team
SEC
was good.
SEC, Pac-12.
They would have competed. And
remember, you had Lowell as a backup at that time.
No, they had some. I was actually surprised. I seen somebody tweet it out from California, the top 5 Utah teams of all teams.
Lowell was a backup. Yeah, so was Siaki, and he's a national champion. You know what I mean? So.
No, but that
we can keep arguing. You know what I mean? And everything about football starts where?
Up front.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
that's exactly what his point was.
No, and that whole team, not Mount West.
No, but I think they did
Mount West. None of them.
They did a poor job at recruiting.
Maybe 2.
If that class was right,
if they were playing today,
and they had Twitter, different story. Easily.
My team, I will take it.
Easily.
Remember that team I'm talking about? You witnessed that firsthand, and that was a crappy game. We had a crappy game and we won 31-0.
But you guys were always undisciplined, though. That's East.
We're not talking about undisciplined. We're not talking about undisciplined because we were undisciplined 14 games and still won.
I'm gonna be biased towards Bingham because I played with those guys.
I played against them.
Yeah, those guys are. I'm telling you, I got invited to the Utah All-Star game my senior year, and our whole team was Bingham. I was the only kid from Westlake. There was only one other kid from Timpview and one other kid from Lone Peak. Literally, our whole team was Bingham, and I had just came back from South Carolina where I played with Marcus Mariota, Johnny Manziel, a bunch of other receivers that all committed SEC schools, and those Bingham receivers that he was talking about were legit. They were the hardest dudes I ever covered.
So the only team that gave East run that game that year, De La Salle. The only loss they had that year was to the national champion, which was St. John Bosco. You know what I mean? So it wasn't Bingham. You know, it wasn't no non-25. It was the number one team.
I don't know.
Damian,
I think if
Mama,
you put that team
and all those guys.
I don't know. Yeah, I think if you put
No,
that
but it's
team,
cool. You know what I mean?
got
Like,
some-
you know, like I tell him when we're throwing kids around, like take the bias out of it, right? Take your bias out of it. Like when I'm telling kids,
the
right?
first pylon, I'll tell you something too about that Bingham team. The first pylon they ever threw in Vegas, the pylon 7-on-7 tournament. Coach Peck took a Bingham team. They were called Team Utah. They won the whole thing, and they're a running team. But they had Harvey had like 6 touchdowns in the championship game. That team, like those receivers are stacked. They were good.
Harvey was a national recruit.
They had some good dudes. I think if you put those kids in 2015 with a Twitter, you put them with their huddle account and with the system that they're in, and you play a couple out-of-state teams. That Bingham team is beating De La Salle for sure.
Oh, we don't know, right?
No, but they would beat that team for sure.
Because they already lost.
And that East team.
Because they already lost to Trinity the year before.
Bingham always beats East, except for last year.
So it's the last time, right?
But they
it's always the last time we face each other. There's always. I'm not even an East guy, you know.
Yeah. I'm not a Bingham guy either, but I never lost to Bingham, so that's why I'm fine with them. I lost to East, so
See,
anybody's
you know
better
so
than East.
So there's a little bit of
bias,
yeah,
but more truth. You know, it's like anything.
But me is a straight truth. You know, straight 100 when we pushing these kids. Is there a motivation why you pushing this kid? How much is that paying you?
Yeah.
Like, how much is East giving you to say they're the best team in your opinion?
Yeah.
Pretty much
see,
everything.
I never went to
there,
Bingham.
so.
I never went to Bingham, so I'm actually unbiased in this opinion. Whereas he is a Glendale guy. He grew up Glendale. He has TC on his back.
Woods Cross, bro. Woods Cross.
All right. Last question is advice for up-and-coming athletes.
Simple. Listen to your parents. Think about what you want to be. If since we're in Level Up talking about discussing football, is it something you really want to do? And everything that you do, be great. Always want to be great in that. Go all out. Don't half-ass it.
Yeah, I think that's like the most important thing for any recruit is just to have passion. I think that's it. Just like this business that we're doing, one thing my dad always told me was like, do something that you love, and if you make money, that's just an extra benefit. And so with Level Up, that's what we started was, we just did it out of love. We loved helping kids. I did it, mainly, for other reasons, but also because I loved helping kids, and making money was just a bonus, and same with football. If you love it, don't do it for the scholarships. Don't play just because you want to get paid or you want to play at the next level. I think it's just important that a lot of kids are getting carried away with just, I need to play at college. I need to play college. I need to take care of my mom. I need to do this stuff. Like, if you want to play, if you want to go to college, go to college. Don't make football the reason why you're going to college. Make football your passion.
And don't have the mentality of D1 or bust. Every kid out there has a home if they want to play football at the next level. It necessarily won't be D1. might have to go the JUCO route. You might have to go NAIA, D3, 2, whatever it is. You know, if that's something you want to do and you enjoy it with a passion, do it.
Yeah.
But don't give up if you didn't get that D1 scholarship.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome, man. And we'll wrap it up, man. Thank you guys for coming out.
For my whole life, I swear they try to put me in a box. I'm busting out, I'm breaking every little single lock. The power of my mind is endless if I cater to it. And now my people looking at me like I knew you'd do it. I'm yelling back, perception of the mind is everything.